You are listening to Tales from the Vale, hosted by local pizza proprietor Tony Michelot
and Lee Gilligan, peripatetic wine industry veteran. A podcast where we have conversations with wine industry personalities,
passionate foodies,
business identities,
and community leaders who live, work and play in and around McLaren Vale
and the Fleurieu Peninsula.
Tales from the Vale.
Today we're talking with Fil Scarpantoni, who with his brother Michael transformed the family Scarpantoni Estate winery into a great success, winning the famous Jimmy Watson Trophy, amongst countless other awards over the past 30 plus years. He's happiest on a tractor and with a glass of wine in hand. Welcome, Phil. You were part of one of the first Italian families to settle in the Vale.
We did, yeah.
What year did your father come out?
He came to Australia in 1953 and came to McLaren Vale in 1954.
From Abruzzo.
From Abruzzo.
What did he do in Abruzzo?
He, chased women, I suppose. I don't know. No, he was helped bricklaying. He helped in the wheats and vineyards and things.
Right.
Whatever they could do in those days.
What town?
Martinsicuro.
Oh, why did I think like Chieti, somewhere near there?
No, he was right on the beach.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
where's that in relation to Pescara? Do you know? Is it north?
Yeah, it's actually north of Pescara, probably about 100 k's, I reckon. Ancona is about 100 k's north, and Pescara is about 100 k's south. It's
near Emilio Pepe then.
Yeah, it's right. He's actually right.
Can you two stop talking about Italian stuff?
Look,
because I have no idea.
We're just talking about Abruzzo because we're both my families are both from the same region originally.
I know that.
Quality.
Which is why I think my father and you bonded so well immediately.
Yeah.
Just like Paisano's done.
Yeah.
We're in.
Oh, yeah. same loves and things, I suppose.
So your dad actually bought a vineyard in 50?
He bought his first vineyard, I reckon, in 58. Yeah, 58, 59, somewhere around there.
In McLaren Vale?
Yep. Just an lower Oxenberry farm.
Okay.
Which we didn't know at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
What, where Oxenberry is now?
Yeah, just across the road. Down. It's probably about 400 metres, 500 metres from where it is now.
Wow.
Yeah, because that was all part of the original. I think there was two big sections there that William Colton bought one and Charles Hewitt bought the other one. And we ended up buying, I think it was Charles Hewitt's.
Are these people like the original land parcel owners of were they distributed by the Queen? Or
Jim Ellis talked about the Colton.
If I read that
Colton or whatever.
Yeah, they moved out from England in 1839. They set sail. They landed here in December 1839, late December.
So they're one of the very early settlers.
Yeah. And they came to McLaren Vale, which wasn't Gloucester, wasn't Bellevue, wasn't anything in January 1840.
Right.
They, with their bullock drays and their families and all their workers and that, they brought them out from England.
Okay.
And they set up in their farms next door to each other.
So your dad was a grape grower for a number of years before?
Yeah. When he first came to McLaren Vale, he went to work for David Hardy, right?
Right.
And this is in the 50s?
Yeah, this is in 1954.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
And so with David Hardy, he was in the Hardy, because that was all part of the Hardy
David
dynasty.
Hardy used to own this place.
Yeah, he did. He owned all this land.
Yeah.
In fact,
we're sitting in Lee's dining room for the listeners, so you know, visual. Looking over Phil's land.
Yeah. Well, about 5 years ago, my wife and I bought a property just up from Lee's on top of the hill here, and that was all originally part of Hardy's vineyard or Hardy's land, and the Riesling that are on it were planted in 1956.
Wow.
And I assume that my father helped plant them, because he was working full time for the Hardys and living up around there. So
how cool is that?
I did ask John Hardy, but to ask his mum, but she's passed away since, so I never really found out for sure. But she might not have remembered anyway. But I just assume he helped plant them, which is
it's a lovely assumption.
Yeah,
it's a nice touch.
So who did he sell his fruit to?
Who, Dad? He in the early days it was Hardy's, believe it or not. And
so he bought an established vineyard or bought a parcel and planted vines?
He bought a parcel. It had prunes on it, prune trees, pear trees, and some vines, some old Grenache and Shiraz. He pulled out.
No Doradilla?
Actually,
No Dura.
Doradilla.
I don't think there was on that vineyard,
Right,
but
okay.
the one he bought in McLaren Flat did.
Right,
Remember, they were
okay.
great to pick.
Yeah.
2 bunches per bucket.
Yeah,
Huge.
that's right. Yeah.
But,
So this is a man that came to came to Australia from Italy, I'm assuming because of after the war and the economic conditions there.
Yes.
Lee touched on it. He was doing a bit of bricklaying and some vineyard work. But other than that, maybe learnt this stuff in Australia or with working through his work?
He knew how to do olives and
Yep.
vines because that's what they did
You
over
did,
there.
yeah.
They all had small farms and that. But
So he
when
had some background.
yeah. So when he came to Australia, he helped prune the olive trees up by where Justin is,
Okay. Yep.
and
Which Justin?
Justin Mack
McNamee.
at
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to say a visual map for the listeners.
sorry.
Is it near the entrance or?
No. No.
Well, actually, where his cellar door is used to be an olive press.
Oh, where Samuel's Gorge.
Yeah, Samuel's Gorge, right? Sorry.
No, you're
It
right.
used,
No.
used to be owned by the Farley family. And I remember going there with Dad.
So there's an olive press up there.
Oh, yeah, it was like one of those old stone grinding wheels that went around in circles. And I remember seeing it and seeing it work probably back in 1967 or 8.
Right.
We went up there, and that's to get some olive oil or see the Farley family for something I can't remember now, but I thought it was pretty impressive then.
Amazing, yeah.
And
Has it been dismantled or is it still like relics of it there?
I don't know.
I don't
We'll
know
have to
if
find
it's
out.
still there.
Look at that. Well, I should ask Dom Scarfa. He'd know.
Yeah.
Very different to the press he's got. I just saw last week.
A bit more modern.
A very modern Italian sexy piece of machinery. Looks great.
No.
So-
So that was interesting.
So your dad sold fruit
Yes.
and met your mum here? Italy?
No. That was in the old days. He actually, when he was working and living at David Hardy's up there in the sheds and the houses and that, he met Mum's brother, right? Because he came over from Italy, from Naples region, Benevento.
Benevento.
Yep. And he said, Dom, I got the perfect girl for you. So he introduced him to his sister,
Right.
and they started communicating, sending letters and photos and that, and they decided to get married.
Okay.
They'd never met each other.
Wow.
It was the old proxy days where she was introduced to Dad's family and vice versa.
To make sure that she was okay.
In Italy?
He was
In
okay.
Italy, yeah.
Abroad?
Yeah, overseas. And so she got married by proxy in Italy and then hopped on the boat and came over to Australia.
Wow. Paula.
Yeah.
Paula.
So when did she arrive?
She arrived in 1957, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And proceeded to have a baby in 1958.
Just get on with it. Just there's no time
So
to waste.
that was Michael?
Yeah.
Right. And then you in
I came in 1960.
okay. Right.
Good year, 60,
So it's Michael, and you've got a sister.
Yeah, I've got 2 younger sisters as well,
Yes.
Julia and Morella.
That's amazing. Sorry, back on the pen pal letters by proxy.
Yeah.
It's just sit on that for a little bit. I mean, it's like the 6-year-old version of DMing someone on Instagram and not meeting them and getting married.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I guess in those days life was a bit different. They trusted their families, their
sure.
parents and that.
And they last, the marriage lasts.
Well, there's not too many that never did. I mean, they were together till Dad passed away, so 50 years or something.
So
It's a
good.
long
It's not
time.
bad. Yeah.
So he's planted a vineyard, or got a property that had some vines and planted a vineyard. This is the first Scarpantoni vineyard, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
Did he have was he making wine at this point, or was he purely growing at this point?
No, he was making a little bit like
home
most
consumption.
Italians do.
For home, yeah?
Yeah. And I remember the first would have been 1963, I reckon. We had 63. Yeah, in the mid-60s, maybe 65, 66. I don't think I was drinking much wine at 3 years
No.
old. So.
No, true.
And,
But there's a bottle with Scarpantoni written on it.
No, there was never any labels. Come
Okay,
on.
cool. Yeah.
It was just for home and friends, family.
Nice.
And that was, I remember he had a little winery set up in the shed at McLaren Vale on Stanbridge, the property was called. And he had 2 little round concrete, they like little rainwater tanks. He concrete lined them because his brother-in-law was a plasterer and concreter, of course. That's the other thing Italians did.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little crusher that was made. It was just a roller crusher. So we'd just tip into this crusher and drop it down into the open fermenters and make wine. Had a little basket press. And that was in the mid-60s.
These are your early memories of home life and winemaking.
Yeah.
So where were you living at that stage?
At Stanbridge, at where Serafino's is?
Yes.
Across the road from there.
Ah,
So where Oxenbury is?
Yeah, basically. It was part of Lower Oxenbury Farm.
Oh, okay. So that was where the vineyard was, and that's where the house was.
Yeah.
The first
It was
property.
14 acres.
right.
And that's where he started, and he became a grower for Hardy's and was selling all his fruit to Hardy's and that.
So is that back onto like the McLaren Vale Oval and all that sort of?
Yeah.
Was that the part of
I
the
used to
property?
walk to tennis and football. It was only like 300, 400 metres away, so it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were born here.
Yep.
Whereabouts?
McLaren
Vale Hospital.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been here, 64 years, so
Right.
I'm a local.
And you went to school here
Yep.
in McLaren Vale?
Went to McLaren Vale Primary School for 6 years.
Right.
Then I did my grade 7, and those, as it was called in those days, still is, in McLaren Flat Primary, because we'd shifted to McLaren Flat then.
So is that when the property you shifted?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
That
where Scarpantoni Estate is now?
Yeah, 1968,
Okay.
Mum and Dad bought that property, the first part of it, and then in a year later they bought the second half of it.
Brilliant. So things were going well then on the growing
Yeah,
front.
in the 60s and that, the grape industry was doing pretty well. And it was mainly we were just growing grapes and selling them to the big companies. So, yeah.
And where'd you go to high school? Here?
Willunga.
Ah,
A Willunga boy.
old boy.
yeah, homegrown Willunga boy.
There you go.
Yeah, did all my years there.
Okay. And after that, what did you do?
Well, started building a winery.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon I was about 18 years old. We started, we had the meeting at the kitchen table one morning, and Dad sat us down, my brother and I said, well, what do you think we start a winery, guys? And we went,
What?
yeah, why not? We go to grapes and let's go to the next stage,
The next
value
step,
add, yeah. And look after our own destiny, basically. So we started building in 78 and opened the cellar door in, I think it was August 1979.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm going to go back a little bit there. So I'm assuming through school, like school life, weekends, you would work.
Yep. Right through primary school. I always remember going back after school holidays and talking to all the mates at school. Oh, we went to Alice Springs, or we went caravan. What'd you do, Phil? Cut apricots, prune or whatever else. So, yeah, that was most of our holiday life was spent working.
Because it sets up that conversation, It's kind of like you sit down. It's not like you're not privy to fixing something or on a tractor, I'm imagining. In 1978, if my math's correct, is when your dad sits down and goes, "I'm going to do a winery." You know how to maintain a vineyard by that point? Do you know how to look after a vineyard? Or
Pretty well. We've been doing it for probably since we were really 10 or 12 years old. We used to go out and help Dad if we wanted to.
So that's like your Roseworthy, really.
Pretty well, yeah.
Because a lot of guests that we had ended up out there. Is that what it's called, Roseworthy?
Roseworthy, yeah.
That you had it through life.
Well, it's funny because
experience counts for a lot.
I did apply for Roseworthy and they accepted me. I was 21 at the time. I was going to do the winemaking course. But then it was, in those days, you had to live out there. It was a 3-year course.
Full time.
And we just started building, and I thought, I couldn't afford the time or the money to go one person short, so I didn't go.
What about Michael?
He left school 1 or 2 years before me, I reckon, and he worked at home on the property.
Okay.
And then when I followed, that's when we decided. It was the year I left school. We decided to build the winery.
Right.
Yeah.
So was there ever in question that you wouldn't be in the business, in the family business, or did you ever have aspirations to do anything else as a kid?
Yes. I mean, I love the industry. So, I remember growing up around the vats at Hardy's, Tintara wineries and Southern Vales. In those days it was called, before it was, well, it's not there anymore, is it? Tatachua for a while, and then it disappeared. So I'd always had that love.
So this is when the communal crushing places that we spoke about.
Yeah, the co-op.
Yeah.
Which Dad was on the board at one stage on co-op, so that was good. Interesting times.
Sure, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, when did you come to the Var? Would have been.
I came in 74.
Oh, that early.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, lived at Aldinga for.
Okay.
We've got to do a Lee Gilligan podcast.
No,
We should. Well, you should, because he's been around longer than me. No, he's been walking around.
Well, you were
longer than me.
competing on
I've been
birth
walking
dates
out-
before we
yeah,
started recording.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but when did we first meet? Would have been in the late 70s, I reckon.
Yeah, I remember meeting you. I was working at Wirra Wirra.
Yeah, it would have been 1980, 79, 80,
yeah,
81.
yeah. Yeah, back then.
We're both younger, thinner, and hairier.
I must say, one of my favourite wines from this region is your School Block.
Oh, thank you.
Shiraz.
A blend.
Blend.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It's a School Block is a moderately priced wine too, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So you just go for.
I was quite jealous because they came out with School Block, and I thought I worked at Wirra Wirra, and they had
You guys had the
church
church
block.
block. Yeah.
and it's similar blend.
Yes.
And I thought, how dare they?
Well, yeah, we used to have fun with that.
Yeah, but it's a really a very lovely wine. Very good.
I remember.
Anyway.
I remember Lee. We used to laugh about that and rib each other, and we came out with the church block first, and I'd say, yeah, but our school's older.
Schools older than this.
Yeah.
So how when you built the winery, who was responsible for the winemaking?
And can I just butt in
yeah,
here? This
sorry.
is the winery. This is the Scarpantoni Estate
Scarpantoni winery.
That's still
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So who was in charge of winemaking, and
Dad.
what were the different roles that you?
Well,
adopted?
it was all hands on because as you can imagine, in 1979 there wasn't a lot of the modern technology and
sure.
equipment around. It was hard to get stuff too. A lot of it was done by hand.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad was the chief winemaker because he actually learnt his trade in Australian winemaking through Seaview Winery because he was up there in the heydays of the 60s. Mm-hmm. And he was a vineyard manager there for about 6 or 7 years at Seaview Winery.
So Seaview's where Mark Flamello spent some time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
After, of course.
Yeah, that was in the old. When he was there when Ben Chafee and Friend Edwards were the owners.
That's right. Yeah.
And in those days, they used to go out in the vineyard during the year, work the vineyard. Then they'd come into the cellar and they'd help with the crush and winemaking, all the cellar work. So, and
As opposed to now where winemakers are just in the winery, is that we
pretty much, unless you're your own,
Yes.
vigneron sort of thing.
Yeah.
But generally the trade is winemakers are in the cellar and vignerons are out in the.
Because from my experience with you and working with you, you're more, more comfortable on in the vineyard.
I love it out in the vineyards.
Yeah.
I love it in the cellar too, but I don't like so much like offices.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that is very fair enough.
Yeah. So, but
you're good with your hands. You're good with machinery. You like machinery. You're passionate about that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
engineering.
and we used to, in those days, we'd in the early days, we'd have our hand pickers come in at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we'd be up getting the trailers and the buckets ready. We'd pick till about 3 o'clock or 3:30 because in those days we were still supplying fruit to the big companies. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we would pick a couple of trailer loads or whatever we were crushing for ourselves, and we go up and crush it at the winery, and we'd be coming home at 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night, because we'd long hours. But it was you just
so
did
you're
it.
still they're sort of
mate.
moonlighting with your own label kind of thing, sort of doing all the bread and butter work, which is the growing for everyone else, and then once they're done, okay, let's go get some grapes for this Scarpantoni label, which is
pretty
created.
much,
So when did you put out your first wine?
Well, I suppose when we opened the cellar door, 79, but the first wine was a 68 Cabernet and a 72 Shiraz Cabernet and a 76, I think. So it was early 70s to mid-70s were the first wines, vintage wines that we released.
Are there any of those bottles remaining anyway?
Yeah, there's the odd one or two, but I think there's some one or two bottles of 76.
You didn't bring it along today? Just
Cabernet. No, they're probably only 2 or 3 in existence.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah,
Museum.
pretty much, yeah. Mum's museum.
So you had a Shiraz, a Cabernet blend.
Yeah, pretty much.
And when you opened with Cellar Door, was predominantly the wines that you were showing at Cellar Door, were they from your grapes and your vineyards?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
We had the only white wine we had was a Riesling, which was probably one of the biggest whites grown in the region at those days.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. And when I met Phil a long time ago, and I remember I was at the front of Scarpantoni there, and I think I saw a label. There's a bottle there. And I'm like, is this, because coming green, you just think, oh, there's never any Riesling anywhere else but Clare Valley.
Wirra used to have hand-picked Riesling.
That's right. One of the biggest selling wines in the state too.
Yeah.
And so what happened with that? Why did it stop? Did someone just say Clare Valley does it better and let's give up?
I think public tastes and, it also has a lot to do with the media and wine writers and journos that like a certain style or they promote a certain style from a certain region, and that's sort of what happened. People were looking for Chardonnays back in the early 80s and that, so
you follow
it was just
trends.
a progression of trends,
How come, does anyone produce a Riesling up here now at all?
Yeah, there's
try one.
I do. I'm making another one.
Brilliant.
Because the vineyard that I've got now has got Riesling on it.
Of course.
Chester from Darrenberg has been doing a Riesling.
That's
Oh, yeah, there's that dry
Riesling.
dam, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. There might be one, maybe, other.
Does it have, I'm going to get into it. It's another conversation, but it must have.
Wirra moves their Riesling to, they bought stuff from the hills and Clare.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
We pour that at Pizzateca.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a shame because probably 3 out of 5 years you'd make a stunning wine.
Yeah.
And when it was a bit warm, it was got a bit too fat and broad, but made fantastic late harvest wines.
Sure.
We used to make a Botrytis Riesling and a late harvest Riesling, and they were fantastic wines because you get that the richer fruit from the more riper and more developed.
I don't know if you can remember, but you can see in the cellar door, if you can remember the old labels, but they look fantastic. I think I was in the office, I was like, you were showing me the new ones, and I was like, use the old ones, they look so good. They got this olive green bar and the arch Scarpantoni with the statue. Still that image on there?
What's old is new.
Yeah. They look great.
Yeah.
Wonderfully retro.
No. Yeah, I guess it's funny how things come round in circles.
So cellar door opens, and who's running the show there? What's happening?
Mum.
Okay.
Mum was basically a cellar door during the week, and because the three of us were outside pruning or working the vineyard.
And building a winery too.
And building and doing the wine work. And on weekends we used to roster, like I'd do a Saturday cellar door and Michael would do the Sunday. Then the next week I'd do the Sunday and he'd do the Saturday, vice versa. And that's how we did it for probably 10, 15 years. And Mum would always be there helping out on if, we had a show on that day or something we couldn't do, one of us. Oh, yeah, it was a family affair. And my sisters would do cellar door when they got older and they used to help out. And my younger sister did wine marketing, went to Roseworthy.
Okay.
And she came back and worked for the company, doing all our marketing and sales and things for a few years until she ran off, got married, and had babies. And
Because we're talking about an international business, Scarpantoni Estate.
mm.
You know, a lot of market being touched around the world. How do you go from what you're just describing to that? You know, there's time and effort, and there's Australian sales, and then there's so much stuff that goes into running a wine label. From sticking a label on a bottle is a bit more than that.
I guess it's always an ethos we had that we would always over provide. You know, always put a better product at a great price, and word of mouth eventually, which it did. That's what sold our product. You know, reliable and quality at a decent price, and it just starts off. You know, you meet people, they're wine buyers, or they have a friend that wants to put in the airline or overseas, and it's just word of mouth, slow contact. It takes decades, but you know, if you don't have millions of dollars to spend on advertising, there is no other way.
Your wine is your advertising, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yep.
And there's a few big accolades there as well.
Oh, yeah, we've, yep. There's
you won a Jimmy Watson
That's
trophy.
the one I was touching on.
The Jimmy Watson, and we also won the Qantas Shiraz of the Year award too.
Okay.
Which was that's probably one of the other biggest accolades in Australia. In those days, they were doing the best Shirazes from all over Australia would enter in a big competition, and there's some great wines won it. Now our Block 3 won it one year, which was fantastic.
Block 3.
What year did you win the Jimmy?
2007 with our 2006 Brothers Block Cabernet.
Did that make a big difference to your sales?
Oh, it was huge for that year and the next couple of years.
So this is the Jimmy Watson trophy. This is
the big.
Is this on Lygon?
Yeah, the Jimmy Watson restaurant there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big.
It's named after him.
Yeah.
It's a wine award from Royal Melbourne show.
Yeah.
And
it's a big deal.
And Wolf Blass built it up.
Famous.
He made it famous. He won it 3 years in a row and advertised.
Is it exclusively for Cabernet?
No.
Oh, so it could be any wine.
It always used to be predominantly Shiraz blends or Cabernet. It was the premium reds in Australia. But the last probably decade or so, it's been, I think a Pinot's won it. And other varieties have won it as well. So it's
And this is it's funny because it stems into marketing and how wine was marketed and sold back then as well, because I imagine that like a sticker on a bottle probably had a bit more weight.
Well, that's how come Wolf Blass became famous.
Yeah.
Through winning 3 consecutive Jimmy Watsons, and no one else in Australia has ever done that.
No.
And he made a big song and dance with all his advertising. I'm the only person that's done it. And everyone went, Wolf Blass, fantastic,
Yes.
And built his success around that very award. Yeah.
He's a character.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
A really good marketer.
Yeah. Yeah, very. And a good winemaker.
Good winemaker, yeah. He is, yeah.
No, well, it's, I guess it's being able to promote yourself.
Absolutely.
Getting out there and doing it. Yeah.
So it was quite later in the piece. It was 2006.
2007 we won it with our 2006 Brothers Block Cabernet, which there's a funny story behind that too, because when we planted those vines in 1978, always the first crop you get after about 2 or 3 years, you can tell the quality of the fruit, what it's going to be like, and then it drops down for about 4 or 5 years until the vines establish themselves. But after that first wine we made would have been 80, we went, wow, this fruit's stunning. And we started calling it our JW block because we said we're going to win the Jimmy Watson one day.
Okay.
And lo and behold.
There you go.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was
26 years later.
Yeah, it was funny.
The JW block. I love it. So let's see, the mission. It's a vineyard with a mission.
We used to put it on the barrels in chalk, JW Cabernet.
That's great. So in that time, in between that 20-year span, a lot happened. I mean, you started a family and so we're going to skim over that. But your father and were you actively involved with Michael and the rest of the family in inquiring on the vineyards? Because you guys have other vineyards other than what we know as the estate, Scarpantoni Estate.
Yeah, we've been buying other vineyards in the region, always in the region pretty much.
To make fruit for the label.
winery label.
So it grew that much that you were just going off the estate and we need more grapes.
And also the fact that we were buying vineyards in different parts of the region, like that were suited for
like California
varieties.
Road, for example.
Yeah, California Road is a fantastic red wine vineyard. It's stunning soil.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Yeah. Lee, he had a Cali Road Shiraz.
We called it California Road, and then they said,
used
hang
to.
on.
What's going on here?
We had it registered.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No, they're registered.
Is that why you're so reluctant to do this podcast?
Yeah.
No, we came to a gentleman's agreement. We decided we'd call it Cali Road.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you guys came to a gentleman's agreement. It's nice to know that some people can do that.
We do. And we do. And I said, fair enough, if you've got to register,
Yeah.
there's nothing we can do
And
about
we
it.
do have a California Road Shiraz.
Yeah.
And the Barbera out there? No.
Yeah,
It is.
Barbera, Monty.
Yep, recently planted when? 10 years ago? Or sooner than that?
I reckon, it's probably close to 10 years ago, the Monty. So, because the first one we made would
That
have
would have
been.
been one of the original plantings in McLaren Road, the Monty.
It's probably not the earliest, but it was early days. It's a variety that I've tried years ago from Italy and that, and I really liked.
Love it.
Yeah, and I think it suits this.
So you play
region.
around with some Italian varieties, as we know. You touched on that.
yeah.
We were talking about at the back of Pizza Teca the other day. We were talking about Nero.
Yeah, we've got some Nero. I've got some planted up on the hill up here, and we had some planted at the flat as well.
Do you know about the licensing on that? Like we were talking about the costing. I was like, "Come on, Phil, give me some Nero plantings." He goes, "I can't do it. It's
it's
very
all
heavily
licensed.
regulated by some baron,
Yeah,
some guy in Sicily, right?"
yeah, I think so. He has the rights to it around the world. So yeah,
It drives the price.
That's what he's telling you.
Yeah,
well, I had to pay someone for it.
makes you feel better.
Yeah,
Now, and you had a French variety,
Gamay.
Gamay. You're
Yes.
still making that?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we make that at Scarps. It's our rosé base,
Okay.
and we've also made.
You made it still red out of that, though. I've had a bottle of Gamay.
We've made Pinot styles out of it, which we entered it in a Pinot wine state, or I think it was wine state competition, and it beat all the Pinots because it made as a red wine. It's a family of Pinot anyway.
Yeah.
So is it a wolf dressed in sheep's clothing if you put Gamay in a Pinot?
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, Gamay is Beaujolais,
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's very close to Burgundy. So
yeah. So we do make a Pinot dry red. Sorry, a Gamay dry red out of it, and most of it goes into our rosé. Yeah, and it's a lovely wine. Great variety.
So were you on the estate? Let's go back to Scarpantoni because I just want to go back to when you met your lovely wife,
Yeah.
Louise, and started your wonderful family, who I've got to know very well. What year was that happening? And was that happening alongside of this winery being built? And
No, that happened. I met her in '86. That was a good story too. I went into a restaurant that her uncle used to own and her auntie manage at Old Brunella called Carter's Restaurant.
Oh, right.
Brilliant food.
No.
And it was
what was Carter's?
Carter's. It was, yeah.
Yeah,
And
what was it? Like a steakhouse? Or?
No, it was silver service.
Oh, right.
And he was trained at Claridge's in London, so he was quite a high chef.
Did you dine there, Lee?
I think I did.
Sounds like the top place.
It was quite a while ago.
Oh, yeah, it was a while back. This was '86 that I met her, but
No, I couldn't afford to dine there.
well, it was actually I blamed Chester Osborne actually for that because he dined there a bit, and we'd all had a big every Wednesday night we used to have those tastings. Remember them, mate?
Yep.
Yeah,
What tastings?
They were work shows, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah,
That's what we used to tell our partners anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I can't talk about it on recording. We'll get in trouble.
Oh no, and sometimes
it
we'd
was.
either go to someone's house and have cook up some pasta or steak.
How
Whatever.
great's this? So this is a whole bunch of winemakers and wine people in McLaren Vale getting together on Wednesday night.
Yep.
You bring some wine and everyone just hangs out.
Yeah, it was educational. That's what we like to call it. Anyway, And Chester said, "Oh, come." I wasn't going to go out to dinner that night because we'd go to local restaurants, which weren't that many in those days.
No, that's very true.
McLaren Bar.
Yeah. And
So a bakery.
The barn.
The
the
barn.
barn. There was Clarendon. At,
Yes, Old Clarendon.
Salopian
Old
happening?
Clarendon Winery.
No, it wasn't then. I don't think that came
no,
a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah. So there wasn't too many, and there was one at Pruitt's, was it?
Pruitt's, at Kangarilla.
Yeah.
Such a different time.
Yeah.
So different. I love hearing about this stuff.
But that's Chester got me to go with him, the guys that night, and
So you roll into this restaurant with Chester Osborne.
yeah,
And what were you
all
driving?
these
Do you
other
remember what you were
winemakers.
driving there? Because I'm really getting a nice visual here.
Not really.
Some Kingswood Ute? Or,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably the Ute.
A tractor.
Kingsford Ute. And she was working that night. That's where we met.
It's,
5 children later.
You don't like to skim over things, do you?
How many years?
You want to take
now?
us back to?
Been married for 36 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 kids, all in McLaren Vale.
Yep.
Tatachilla, all of them?
McLaren Flat Primary and Tatachilla Primary and high school.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you were in that estate, your house previously before this one was right near Scarpantoni. Was that a part of the...
Yeah, it was part of the vineyard. There was Grenache planted where I had the house. So, yeah.
And your parents or the family decided to do a little bit of a subdivision there?
Yeah, well, I think...
Because not many people have got streets named after them.
No,
like your mum,
because
Polar Court.
half the property was zoned township.
Right.
And it had been for about 150, 200 years or something. So eventually when Dad wanted to retire, they sold off some land. And that's all gone now, all the front part, but all the back property's still there. It's all part of the estate still. And that hopefully will be for a long, long time. So, yeah, but I built a house on the property so I could be close to work and Mum and Dad.
You're very close to work.
Yeah, 100 metres.
But you're still like, I've got memories of when I first come to McLaren Vale and you very much helped me out with any stupid question I'd have and trying to put some wine in a bottle.
There would have been plenty of
Would have
them.
been a lot of them, Lee. But, you roll in there and your mum would come in with lunch still. All the workers and that big round table that you have in the lunchroom, and you and Michael would be.
I think that Mum loved doing that role, cooking for everyone. Like she'd bring all her Italian dishes down, and all of our staff. She does the zucchini flowers in batter, and they all love it. That she makes it for Michael and I, and that. And all the girls go through and have one or two, so we hand it out to them because they've all grown to love it. Yeah.
This is brilliant. So you've got family close, all there, everyone's working through it. You've created your own family as well. Take us through that, because your boys, when Gabby worked at Pizza Teca, which was great, and seeing her come in from when she was, I think she's like 16 when she started.
15 or 16. Yeah.
And then
very
grown to
shy
the lovely young woman that she is now. Exactly. Which is such an honour to be able to do with some people and see them grow and do that. But the boys are now involved in wine on various...
Yeah, well, oldest son is a winemaker. He decided he was actually going to do all different
This is Dominic.
things. Yeah. He went to uni and started doing other things. And then he decided, I want to be a winemaker. So off he went, became a winemaker viticulturist. I think these days it's a double degree.
Yeah.
So he's got both of those. And the Matteo, the middle son, he decided he wanted to be a mechanic.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
And go work on Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And he did that, which was good. Yeah. And then he decided...
But he's gone full circle though as well.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to come back on the family. He found his passion and love for wine. And
but he found that through service industry predominantly.
Yeah,
really.
He worked in the hospitality. He was working in Adelaide for East End Cellars there for a while.
That's right.
And
then it was with Grimley at 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, 5 o'clock somewhere.
Little wine bar. Have you ever been there, Lee?
Yeah.
There's this little wine bar on Gilbert Street. It was up from Mudrow.
No.
Yeah, it's not. They had a nice little setup. I think it's been sold now.
Yeah.
So. But no, he got into that side and started dealing with the wines and the people, and he loved it. So he's come back and he's managing Oxenberry Farm, which is our other side or new
We
development.
need to get
We'll
onto
get to that.
Yeah.
And then Jacob's on the tractor quite a bit.
Jacob loves anything outside in the vineyard. He, like animals, plants, and he's all organic and natural. So, which is fantastic.
So he's working the vineyard?
Yep, yeah, he manages the
So
vineyard.
Phil's managed to create this this trilogy
So
of
he can retire. So
everything
he can retire.
they need to run a successful wine brand. You need a winemaker, someone on a tractor, and someone at the cellar door. You've got all three.
And the beauty of it is I didn't force any of them because
That is great.
I forced them either to go get a trade or a degree.
Yeah, you very much didn't hand it. It wasn't like, this is yours. If you did, no way. You're giving me a face.
They have to show that they want to do it, and they've decided that they love what they do. So now Louise and I are giving the opportunity to help them out, so which is good.
You can trace back right now to Oxenbury. Get onto that. When did that happen?
Yeah, when did you buy Oxenbury? What?
Because Oxenbury is...
And that was a long-term plan? It was part of the original...
Yeah. We bought that in 19... oh, God.
Did you buy that from the Maxwells?
1998 from Ken and Mark Maxwell.
Maxwell, right.
And they'd just almost finished building their new place up on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what, this one here?
Yeah,
Maxwell's?
Maxwell.
Yeah, Maxwell's. And so they were looking to get rid of that. So we bought it because it was a winery and it had the land there close to where we grew up.
Was it called Oxenbury or was it called Maxwell's?
No, it was in those days. It was called Maxwell Wines.
Yeah, and then they moved over there.
Yeah, and then we rebuilt the winery, and then we started doing contract work there. And a lot of the Fox Creek wines were made there in the early days.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Oxenbury was the original Maxwell winery.
Yep.
Yeah,
because that's a nice little winery. It's a good size.
Yeah, well, it was smaller than it is now. We've built it up a bit since then, and it's just been a progressive since really 1998. We've spent a lot of money and time in developing it.
Dowie Dorp made some wine there too.
Yeah. Well, was that with Tim? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good wines come out of that place. I think Tomo was in there. And
yes,
he won,
that's why Tim was there.
Yeah, well, Tim was in there, Tim Geddes, and he did some...
We did our first food event at Oxenbury. At
Yes.
the McLaren Car Show.
Car
I've
show,
set up a Rossagini stand.
Yep,
This
that's
is before
right.
Pete's Teca in the back of the Upper.
Yeah.
Dad's Upper.
I remember Dad and you asked me, "Do you think a pizza place will work down here?" And I said, I remember saying to you
Another
guys, no, that's someone else said that. But
Yeah, they did.
I said, you know what? If you build it, they will come. Because I think you were
Quite Kevin
worried.
Costner.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Good movie too.
Yeah, Field of Dreams.
But yeah, people love coming there. I mean, all of Adelaide knows Pizza Teca, and I'm very proud of. I had a
Your
very
role
very
as staff.
small.
You helped us greatly. It was the first thing of like, how do we cook food and serve it? And it became for a little bit of all humble beginnings. It was the back of a truck.
I was ready to eat it.
I was there on your opening night.
That's right.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
I was their first paying customer. I think.
And now all you do is complain that it's changed. And it's not what it used to be. You're too big.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
It's still great.
Thank you.
It's still great.
But let's get back to this because I remember drinking Two Tribes
Yep.
that day. I don't know why I'm getting onto that, but I really like the Oxenbury Two
That's our
Tribes.
Shiraz Grenache.
Shiraz
blend.
Grenache, yeah. Lovely one.
Yeah, it was interesting.
We had a few of
too.
those that day, actually.
Two Tribes, yeah. Yeah, no, they've all got interesting names. We had a wine marketing guy, Jared, working for us at the time, and he was involved in a lot of the marketing and the names of the wines in those days, and we had some fun with them. There's the Jack of all trades, which was a Tempranillo we did. Mm-hmm. And they're all based around the history of the place. Like the Sermon Tree Chardonnay, which is about an old gum tree that was there. It was hundreds of years old, and I remember the stump in the side of the creek. It was still there, but it's by Peter Dennis's winery there.
Yes,
and I think it was Charles Hewitt used to be a preacher as well, so he was quite religious, and he'd pull up his bullet dray, and all the families and the locals would go there to listen to his sermon.
Oh, the tree, yeah.
And that's the sermon tree. That's where the Chardonnay name came from. And then there was the Settlers Spring, as that was the actual drinking water supply for the town for a long time.
Which is what that little lake behind Oxenbury there?
Pretty much, yeah. It was across the road from, or right behind Doringa Winery, and in the middle of the vineyard. It's not there anymore because it's dried up, I suppose. I don't know, but that's all the indigenous people used to go and drink, take their water there, and the local people. It was eventually pumped up to the town and service the town.
So it's in a really remarkable, it's quite a historic spot as well, that Oxenbury, because it's along the Shiraz Trail, and if anyone hasn't been, it's changed quite a bit. You were talking about it before you came in with some of the food offering now, which is fantastic. But it's got a lovely grass area.
Yes.
It's got a little accommodation cottage.
It's got the oldest house that we lovingly restored over a 5-year period. It's called Doringa House. And Colton
they're the cottages
Cottage,
if you're looking at it to the left.
Yeah, they're right on the walking trail. Right. They're all stone and the old clinker red brick that was the ballast in the ships that they made it from. And that was 1840 they built that.
Oh.
And that's since built on like
oldest in McLaren Vale? Or?
It's the first, yeah. Apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
There you go.
Of the actual township of McLaren Vale.
Wow.
That's before, because we assumed like
you've asked Jim Ellis about that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we assumed like most people that the Vale was two little hamlets, Gloucester and Bellevue. And then they merged. But before they were there was Doringa House, Oxenbury Farm. That was the first settlers in the region, in the town. So,
and are they? You can hire them out and stay there now. They're accommodation.
Yeah, 5-star accommodation. There's peddlers.
Do you run that? Does Oxenbury run that?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Oxenbury runs all that, so it's all you can book online or through Booking.com, Airbnb, and we get people from all over the world.
I bet you do.
It's a beautiful spot, and it's handy because it's right on the Shiraz Trail. So we have push bike hire as well, electric push bikes for the less fit like me. And people ride to other wineries or to the Vale, and that's a lovely spot. Yeah,
that's really good. It's really good. So on top of the Scarpantoni, there was an expansion there that was to acquire grapes and maybe another facility. Recently, what's happened is that you've taken over Oxenbury. Is that correct?
Yes, I've bought my brother out, so I've taken over that, and my boys are moving into there. They want to create and grow there, so it's exciting.
So Dom's there making wine. Dom's a winemaker.
Yeah, he made the wines there this year.
Is this his first vintage doing that?
Yeah, on
here we go.
solo. Yeah.
So
look forward.
Where did he work prior to coming to work for you?
He did a vintage in Portugal just before COVID. He came back and he had a vintage at Darrenberg, and then COVID hit while he was at Darrenberg. And from there, since COVID, he's just been working at Scarps.
Okay.
And he was supposed to be going to Japan to do a vintage, believe it or not. He had one teed up there in New Zealand, and he couldn't do them because of the last COVID problems. But he's heading off to Japan tomorrow to go visit the winery and a few other.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I thought, there's not too many wineries in.
Do you remember
Japan.
Giovanni that used to work for us? Giovanni Nora from Reggio Emilia.
Yeah.
He, on his way back to Italy, he stopped in Japan and worked at a winery there.
Ah, well, I wonder if it's the same one.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drew Noon had a Japanese winemaker.
Yeah.
Come and work for him.
That's
I
right.
think did one or two vintages with him.
Yeah. I mean, Japan sounds lovely. I've only been there for work. I've got to go for a holiday.
It is brilliant. You need to travel.
Yeah, well, hopefully Louise and I can retire and do more travelling now. That's the plan. Yeah.
Good.
Haven't really been able to do much the last 30-odd years. Kids, business.
Keep the family together. It's an important job.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So who did the travelling overseas stuff for work?
We shared it, really, my brother and I. I did certain countries and we did some countries together, but we only probably went away once or twice a year, if that. And the US was a big.
It's a big market for you?
Big market for us at the time, but then the global financial crisis hit, and I think everyone stopped selling much wine to the US. No, we've always really export's always been cream or an extra for us. Our Australian market's always been our strongest, and that's what we concentrate on. But
your core.
But there's some countries we've been exporting to for almost 30 years.
Right.
So,
what would be your biggest market now?
Overseas, I think the US is coming back up. UK has always been quite steady. New Zealand is up and down. It seems to be coming back up again. And we've had some good in Switzerland as well, Netherlands. And that. But
what wines are going over there then?
Predominantly reds. Obviously, that seems to be the
school block. Is that a main exporter?
No, not really. School block is mainly kept for Australia. Okay. We were selling a bit the US years ago, and that was quite popular. But it's mainly the Shiraz and Cabernet overseas. That's what they want because it's the unique wines.
And how about Oxenbury? Has Oxenbury ever done any export marketing?
Very little. Some to New Zealand and some to UK, but only with one red. That's it.
I imagine the boys probably focusing on the venue now and the label in-house.
Yeah.
I can imagine Matteo putting a lot of his flair on the front of house. And
yes, he's sorting that out, which is good. He's working closely with the chefs and new menus and things. So younger approach, I suppose.
I must say my partner, Jen, goes there every Friday afternoon.
She's...
And she said they're absolutely brilliant in there.
There's a good bunch
she
of
girls. She goes to the ladies, doesn't she? There. And they have
they do
sparkling red.
Pilates, and then they go and drink a bottle of sparkling red.
They
always get a bowl of chips and whatever.
We have a few groups that do that Fridays. They come and sit around and
but
have
that's
a couple
the proximity. It's such a great, it's almost like a little hub because it's sort of you don't know where the Shiraz Trail ends and the lawn starts of Oxenbury.
No.
It's a great place to come and have a glass of bubbly or wine and a bit of a nibble or a coffee or a cake or something.
I went there a couple of weeks ago with an old schoolmate of mine who I hadn't seen for over 20 years. And he said, "Where are we going, McLaren Vale, for a coffee?" And I said, "Oxenbury." And he said, "Never heard of it." And I told him where it was. Anyway, it's great.
The coffee I like.
Yeah, the coffee's good.
We've always used Rio coffee because it's been over 10 or 12 years. There wasn't too many independent coffee
coffee producers, coffee roasters and grinders.
There's a couple now.
Yeah.
Which is the one? Is that De Groot? That's over. Which is the one that's on the way to
Wollonga?
What's that?
That's Dawn Patrol.
That's right.
Dawn Patrol.
Dawn Patrol, yeah. And they got good coffee too.
And does Grimley do some too?
He was. Yes. He actually bought a coffee.
I was trying to think. I felt like he had coffee roasting there.
He does, I think.
He did.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's a lovely spot anyway. So you got a lot of things going on there because there's a small function space too, right?
It's lovely to sit there overlooking the lawns and the walking trail. And
well, there's always something to look at. There's always people cycling or walking.
And there's that other hut too.
Yeah.
The wooden hut that's on the road, that's an accommodation.
Peddler's Cottage, yeah.
And is there a function space or is that just for someone's 21st that we did? It was one of your kids.
Oh, that's a function. No, we've got, there's a function space for about 130 odd people.
That's great.
Then we've actually started doing the wine cellar, which seats about 30 people, and the long table down in between the wine vats and tanks. People love it because you open the end doors and it's a beautiful view. And that's been really popular. And there's the Colton room, which is a more intimate room. And then there's the new addition is the Bar 1840 downstairs in the old barrel cellar. And that's sort of done up as a speakeasy. And it's really lovely, the old furniture and an old radiogram, bloody record player. It's a nice spot for private intimate shows.
Let's check that out. It's good to know.
It's like a gin house, but
Be
just a whiskey gin.
There's a lot of people always ask, is it open late?
Well, it's only open on for functions.
Okay, all right, okay. Get a lot of people asking when they leave, and especially if they're staying over, where do we go now? Like, it's like the end of pizza deal, like 9:30 Holland, like in McLaren Vale.
and
Lee's place.
Are you doing sort of evening dining
No.
there?
No.
Are you going to?
Look, I don't think so at this stage because it's not. There's enough restaurants in the town. Let them do what they do best.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it like that.
Fair enough. No, fair enough.
We have had evening functions there, like B&B clubs and special functions.
Right.
And that.
But primarily it's a wine business and cellar door.
Yeah, it's
So, that's very much day trade.
Yeah, it's sort of been morphing into different things. It was a cafe for a while, cellar door, lunch restaurant. So it's sort of a morph of those three things, but it's being pushed more to the cellar door wine side.
It's good to know that the boys are, have got that control over it now, like in a way, and then they can breathe life into it and take it where they go. I'm pretty excited about it.
So how much input do you have to it?
Financially?
Well, that would be...
They a little bit. I mean, I give advice when they ask and I steer directions, but it's really they have a clear and opened
vision about what
they
they're doing.
can do as they wish. I mean, Dom is very good with the wines, and he's works with his brother Matteo on marketing and styles, and so I don't have a lot. I advise, but it's up to them if they want to make a wine a certain way that they think is in popular these days. That's fine.
That's their decision. Right.
I've decided I'm old.
Well, getting on that.
But I think that's one reason why your children want to come back and work in the business.
Yeah.
Because you give them freedom
Well,
to do so.
That's right. They have to have that freedom to develop. They don't want to start making wines. I did. They want to put their own little touch to it, which is fine. And I find it exciting. I look back and I think, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I think Dom made his first rosé from there this year, and it's Grenache, which is nothing exciting about that, apart from it's good Grenache, but with Touriga.
Grenache Touriga.
Yeah.
Good.
And I said, what makes you think?
Oh, G&T.
Yeah, like GT. And I said, what do you want to use Touriga for? He said, well, because it was one of the main varieties he used in Portugal. He said, it makes really, really great rosé styles. I want to blend it with the Grenache. And it's looking really good. We've bottled it now, but we haven't released it yet. So, yeah.
Look out for it.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's dry.
Grenache Touriga is a really good blend.
Yeah. Have you had it before?
Dowie Door make one.
Doesn't Steve Pennell do a Grenache Touriga dry red?
Yeah. We make a dry red out of it.
Most people have made dry reds out of it, but I've never seen a rosé.
No, we don't make a rosé. We made a dry red, but we've been making it for
15 years?
Yeah, 10, 12 years. Something like that. Yeah.
So I thought, and Steve Pennell has been pioneering Touriga a bit around here. It's an interesting variety. Yeah. I don't mind. I like it, and it adds some really lovely characters with the rosé.
Sure.
It smelt like watermelons when it was fermenting, and pomegranate.
Yeah. Yep.
Unbelievable. So it's nice if you like those two varieties or things.
What's exciting?
Yeah, and they've got lots of other ideas too. So
and the vineyard side of things, obviously, since taking over Oxenberry, is that mainly just on your home block now, or do they have access to some other fruit to play with?
No, there's the Peddler Creek Vineyard.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. Then there's California Road Vineyard, and then there's the home block on 28 Road here.
They get to have access for fruit.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
And so, are you still involved as a partner with Michael and Scarpantoni?
No.
Right. So you're solely concentrating on Oxenberry?
Yes. Yeah. Michael's going to run off with Scarps.
Okay.
And I've got Oxenberry.
So what Can I ask what prompted that? Was it just you decided?
I guess you call it succession planning.
Okay.
You know, it was probably instigated by Michael more so, that he wants to go off and do his own thing. So, and my boys said, well, it's a great opportunity. We're going to go off and do what we want to do. So it sort of happened like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It solves some sounds like it solves some it was a solution for the boys as well, really. So they could.
Yeah, they're masters of their own destiny, and they've got their own ideas. They don't have to worry about, other influences. I suppose.
Other winemakers or other things, or this sort of something control over something. So they've got complete creative control now.
And I guess if the two of you had stayed together, that if they have children and whatever, it becomes more and more complex.
Yes,
true.
We've all seen what happens.
Yes, we have. How do you make up roles, and how do you? Yeah.
Oh, look, there's no doubt there's certain aspects that are quite sad because it's a long time I've been
involved.
So, but it's the next exciting chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's what's exciting. You touched on before, like having some more time to spend with like traveling and you're a nonno.
Yes, grandpa, nonno,
Which I imagine you're amazing at and you love.
Oh, yeah, they're cuties. One's an Eveready bunny, and the other one, she's just a happy, gorgeous little thing, always smiling, laughing, which is nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they always say grandkids are better than kids, aren't they?
Well, you can always hand them back.
It's true.
No, grandkids are wonderful. It's fantastic. I love having grandkids.
So, one chapter closes in a way and another one opens. And so the future for you is some more time seeing Oxenberry, passing that over and looking after.
Watching the boys develop and grow, and
Japan.
And Japan. And
you and Louise are going to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to go back to Italy again because I have not really been there for a holiday for 30 years.
Come next July, I'll be there. We can have a wine somewhere.
Meet, especially in the
same region. We'll go to Salona with Dad.
Absolutely beautiful. He probably knows some better restaurants than I do over there.
He's done a lot of research. Yeah. we recently went to Salona.
Yeah, it was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was pretty turbo, but some good eating.
I know, that's the problem.
People ask me when I got back, and they're like, "What's Italy?" I'm like, "It's happening right now." Now it's like there are people eating that food now. It's great.
It's a great culture.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's just another example of this country, how so many cultures have come here and how much more interesting it is.
Yeah, and your family is a huge part of that, especially down here in McLaren.
Well, there's a lot of Italians down here, and there's a lot of good food and people and drinks down here.
Yeah.
Speaking of here and Italian, what do you think of, and you mentioned it with the Barbera and Nero, and what do you think of all where McLaren Vale's headed with great varieties being planted, like Fiano and...
Look, you
would have seen a lot of changes.
In all our years, we've always tried to not pioneer, but try new things. Like we had Tarango, we had Barbera, we had Gamo. We've been playing it with them since the late 70s. We're always Sauvignon Blanc, one of the first ones to start planting that, and Chardonnay as well. And all, everyone thinks Sauv Blanc and Chardonnay are old, but back in the 80s and late 70s, they weren't old. They were new modern, trendy
dynamic
varieties, So, and I hope the boys will continue that. And we're still doing, Tarrega and Monty and Nero. They're all the next step, I guess. And it's just a matter of working out the region, the soils, and the climate, and what you think people might enjoy drinking here.
So, do you think McLaren Vale's still going through like a settling phase?
I think it's always looking for new things.
But at what point does it go, this is what we do?
Well, I think we've become a lot more settled in the last 4 or 5 years, in that Grenache has made a big resurgence in this region and now is regarded as being, probably the best producers of Grenache, if not in the world, certainly in Australia, if not the world. And things like Fiano,
What Grenaches should I be drinking from McLaren Vale?
there's a whole raft of them, mate.
Yeah. And it's
Give me a list.
heavy to light. I mean, it depends on the style.
It depends. It depends what you like drinking. But I think James Halliday regards McLaren Vale as being the home of Grenache in Australia. So that's just one thing. But then over the last few years, we've made a reputation for things like Fiano. Monty's now getting produced here a lot more. There's a whole raft of things that I think people are now starting to say, hey, this is what McLaren Vale can really do well. We've still got Shiraz. And I think this is probably sacrilege to some people, some of the best Cabernet in Australia comes from this region as well.
Feels not biased at all.
It's true. I mean, I think when we won the Jimmy Watson, it was with our Cabernet, and Shingleback won it with
their Block D.
Was it Jeff Merrill won it the first year? Then it was Shingleback and then us, and two of those three were Cabernets. I think it was Shingleback Cabernet, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might. it was.
What did Jeff Merrill win it with? The Shiraz.
Yeah. So, and that was a bit of a turn up because Cabernet hadn't really won it for a while, had they?
No, and yet.
And from McLaren Vales even.
I've heard I won't mention their name, but quite a famous UK journalist and MW say some of the best Cabernet he'd ever had came from this region. Some of the best Cabernet in Australia he'd ever had came from McLaren Vale.
I'd agree.
But can you do it all? And that's the thing. I'm just sort of leaning on more brand McLaren Vale. You know, like
I think. You'll probably back me up on this. I think because of the soil structures we've got here and the microclimates we've got in McLaren Vale. I mean, Blewett Springs is totally different to California Road. There's a whole different lot of microclimates.
I think I'm going to have to work through all this. I know that Grenache is great. I know that Grenache is good, but I want to drink more McLaren Vale Grenache.
Why pigeonhole? You know, I've always been against pigeonholing. I look at each wine. I don't care where it's from and what part of Australia or the world. If it's a great wine, I'll say it's a great wine. If it might be, say a Cabernet from Clare, which is stunning. Well, you can't make that. It's only regional.
No, yes.
Well, that's good point. Not true, is it? So why pigeonhole? Well, there's obviously wine styles and varieties that we do make better than most years than most other regions. But that's not to say other regions.
It's a consistency thing.
No,
that's right. It's consistency. So, never discount a wine because it comes from the region that's not regarded as home of that variety. It's not, I mean...
What else are you drinking from Coonawarra other than Cab?
Oh, some of the Shiraz. Rieslings are great from there
whites
too.
are there,
Whites. So it's a
I've
good
had
example.
I've had a couple of pretty nice Chardonnays from there too.
Yeah.
It'd be great to put together a wine list of all the wines that are from the regions they're not famous for.
Well,
you just got McLaren Vale Rieslings.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be funny.
Why not? Just an aside, I was in Victoria last week at a place called Wando Vale.
Where?
Wando Vale.
Wando Vale.
Just outside Casterton.
All right.
And driving to where we were staying, I saw the sign out, wine tasting. I thought, I didn't know they had any wineries here.
There's tick, they'll be in that leg.
Yeah. And I thought, I'm going to go in there and try that. And it was a 30-year-old vineyard planted with Cabernet.
Oh, right.
Like 3 acres of Cabernet.
Yeah.
And the woman who is heading into her 80s, I said, how long have you had this? She bought it some years ago. And I said, who's your winemaker? And, of course, it was Sue Bell from Bellwether. And I said, I want to try your Cabernet. And it was fantastic.
Oh,
it was really good. And only winery for bloody miles and miles and miles. A long way from Penola, Coonawarra, but just this little hilltop vineyard, tiny.
Also, you're probably Phil?
hand-pruned.
Riesling and is there Shiraz up there?
Shiraz, Grenache, Mourvedre, Riesling,
Fruit salad.
Touriga, and Nero and Monty.
What, a row of each?
No.
big is this
Well,
place?
sorry, there's 2.5 rows of Nero. That's the smallest patch, but everything else is not too bad. It's all planted in proportion. The Mourvedre is planted there, so to add to the Grenache to make a GSM.
Yeah,
that's the plan. So
good.
Right.
and the first one will come out 23 vintage, I think.
And it'll be under Oxenbury label.
Yes, Oxenbury. Yeah.
So great. Oh, well, stay tuned, I guess. Watch the space.
Yep. That's. I would have bought some bottles today for us to drink, but
Bit early to start.
yeah,
When we do the 3 o'clock sessions,
Yeah.
we normally have a bottle of wine.
at Pizza Teca.
No, here.
Oh,
We're going to do our Christmas party. Tell us about our Christmas party at Oxenbury. We're going to do it at Pizza
you
Teca.
should have all the people you've had on
Yeah.
the podcast.
We were talking
or
about
the
that before you
Christmas
walked in.
party.
That'd be fun. That'd be good fun.
We're going to do a dinner or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lee's
that.
Curry. Here, I like this place. This is
I'll
good.
supply the place if you want. You can bring all the food there. That's fine. That'd be good fun.
Go to Pizza Teca. It'll be fun.
Be like Wednesday nights again.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun. We should do that. I want to do that. I think that's. I hate being that guy that wraps it, but I've got to get to the city.
You got to hurry.
We've got a 30-week scan today.
Oh,
Whoa.
fantastic.
Well, my wife does.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's your wife.
Yeah.
30 weeks of what?
Oh,
Anyway, Phil, thanks a heap, mate. It's been
always a pleasure,
Very enjoyable.
guys. You know?
I've really enjoyed it talking formally
Oh,
with you.
Thank you.
On a recording
I've
device.
enjoyed the questions and the
That's been really interesting.
nothing embarrassing. Nothing that he divulged that he shouldn't have.
Not at all.
no,
Well,
not
should there
really.
be?
I could probably say a few things about you from our past. But I'll wait.
Thanks very much.
Nothing
mic.
bad.
No,
Nothing bad.
no,
But we had some great nights over the years. Yeah.
Let's have another one with that show.
If it's anything that I'd like to probably say about that I miss the most is when McLaren Vale and the wine industry was a cottage industry.
No.
You could go anywhere in Australia and you tell them who you are. They wouldn't never have heard of you possibly, but they knew the region, and it was like open arms, your family. And it's sort of gone a bit because it's become a bit corporate and the industry's just grown. But I do miss that aspect of it. That we're all, part of the same family.
The growth in the number of wineries has been staggering in this region too.
Huge.
And there's people here making wine I've never met.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know who they were.
No.
Whereas years ago, you knew everybody in this district.
Well, it's probably more common as well to have the person's name on the label as the winemaker and the owner and that.
Oh, no, we just used to get together, we'd have with the bushing committee and shows. I think we were winery 21 when we started. So now there's 80-something or 90.
Well, the reason we started this, I've said it before, this podcast, was because when I worked at Wirrawirra, Greg Trott had a couple of lunches where he invited all the old winemakers, the Cudkays and whatever, to come and sit down and talk about their experiences here. And it was fascinating.
Yeah. Otherwise you lose all that.
You lose it all.
Yeah.
Do you know the Wollonga Trust they're going to transcribe and preserve the recording of our conversation with Jim Ellis,
Fantastic.
which is pretty cool. So I guess that's what we're doing in a way a little bit here, is just trying to preserve things and
And get lots of people's points of view about life here and what they enjoy.
It's a great region, great people. I wouldn't want to bring up my family anywhere else.
No, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
No. That's right.
that's a sign off there. Done. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks Phil.
Guys. See ya.
Cheers. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tales from the Vale. Be sure to like and follow us, TFTV Podcast, on Facebook and Instagram.